Once, a merchant placed trust in a shrewd associate. This associate, however, saw an opportunity for personal gain at the merchant's expense. He embezzled a significant sum, leaving the merchant on the verge of ruin. Pleading for another chance, the associate begged for forgiveness, promising to redeem himself. The merchant, a man of faith and forgiveness, relented. He believed everyone deserved a second chance. He bailed out his associate and entrusted him with responsibilities once more. For a while, things seemed to improve. The associate worked diligently, projecting an air of repentance. The merchant felt vindicated, his faith in humanity restored. But this was a facade, a calculated ploy. The associate, emboldened by the merchant's clemency, saw another opportunity. He absconded with an even larger sum, this time leaving the merchant utterly destitute. The merchant, broken and betrayed, realized his error. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature. This meant accepting the reality of human imperfection, including our capacity for malice and deceit. They understood that while people can change, this change is not always guaranteed, nor is it our responsibility to facilitate. The world is not a stage for our personal redemption narratives. To assume that everyone deserves a second chance is to deny the agency and accountability of the individual. It is to place the burden of their actions on our shoulders, sacrificing our own well-being in the process. Furthermore, the Stoics recognize the danger of emotional reasoning. When we allow ourselves to be swayed by feelings of guilt, pity, or the pressure to conform to societal expectations, we risk making decisions that are not in our best interest. Stoicism does not advocate for a lack of compassion, but rather for a measured and rational approach to forgiveness. It encourages us to differentiate between genuine remorse and manipulative pleas for another opportunity. This discernment is essential for safeguarding our emotional well-being and preventing future pain. The Stoics emphasized focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts, emotions, and actions, and accepting what we cannot. We can choose to prioritize our peace of mind over the expectation of offering endless chances. Imagine, for instance, a colleague who repeatedly takes credit for your work. Despite numerous conversations and attempts to address the issue, the behavior persists. In such a situation, the Stoic approach would not be to endlessly offer chances for redemption. Instead, it would be to accept the reality of the situation, that you cannot control your colleague's actions, and focus on what you can control. You can choose to document your contributions diligently, to communicate directly with superiors, or to distance yourself from the toxic dynamic. This might mean seeking new opportunities within or outside the organization. The key is to prioritize your own well-being and refuse to be a passive participant in your own mistreatment. The Stoics believe that virtue is its own reward. Living a virtuous life, one guided by wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, is the ultimate goal. When we allow ourselves to be repeatedly wronged by the same individuals, we compromise our own virtue. This is not the path to a fulfilling and meaningful life. The Stoics placed great emphasis on the importance of wisdom. This wisdom was not merely about accumulating knowledge, but about developing the ability to discern right from wrong, to see through facades, and to make sound judgments. In the context of second chances, wisdom dictates that we learn from our past experiences. If someone has repeatedly demonstrated untrustworthy behavior, it is unwise to expect a different outcome simply because we desire it. This is not about holding on to anger or bitterness, but about recognizing patterns and making informed decisions. The Stoics believed that true strength lay not in physical prowess or material possessions, but in the strength of character. To repeatedly forgive someone who has shown no genuine remorse is not a sign of strength but of weakness. One of the most challenging aspects of this philosophy is learning to identify those who are truly undeserving of a second chance. It's easy to fall into the trap of making excuses for others, to attribute their behavior to external factors, or to convince ourselves that they will change if we just give them enough time. However, this often leads to a cycle of disappointment, frustration, and resentment. The Stoics would urge us to look for consistent patterns of behavior. Has this person repeatedly betrayed your trust? Have they shown a lack of remorse for their actions? Do their words align with their deeds? It is also important to recognize that not all transgressions are created equal. When it comes to matters of integrity, trust, and personal values, we must be willing to draw a line in the sand. The decision to withhold a second chance is not one to be taken lightly. It requires careful consideration, a level of detachment from our emotions, and the willingness to accept the potential consequences of our actions. We must be prepared to face criticism, to be labeled as unforgiving or harsh. However, we must remember that true strength lies not in conforming to societal expectations, but in living in accordance with our own values. The Stoics believed that the only true evil was vice, and the only true good was virtue. Therefore, the fear of social disapproval should not deter us from making decisions that we believe are right and just. Furthermore, we must be willing to accept that our decision may result in the loss of a relationship. True friendship, they believed, was based on mutual respect, trust, and the shared pursuit of virtue. One of the most compelling arguments for withholding second chances from the undeserving is the preservation of our own dignity and self-respect. When we allow ourselves to be repeatedly mistreated or taken advantage of, we chip away at our own sense of worth. We send a message to ourselves and to the world that our boundaries are not to be taken seriously, that our feelings are not important, and that we are willing to tolerate disrespect. This can have a profound impact on our self-esteem, our relationships, and our overall outlook on life. The Stoics believed that self-respect was paramount. They understood that true happiness and fulfillment stem from living in accordance with our values and refusing to compromise our integrity for the sake of others. To accept mistreatment, even in the name of forgiveness, is to betray ourselves. The Stoics believed that the ultimate goal of life was eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. However, their definition of happiness differed significantly from the modern-day pursuit of pleasure or instant gratification. For the Stoics, happiness was not a fleeting emotion but rather a state of being that resulted from living a virtuous life. It was about aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions with the principles of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. When we live in accordance with these virtues, we experience a sense of inner peace, purpose, and fulfillment that is not dependent on external circumstances. The pursuit of eudaimonia requires us to make choices that are in our best interest, even if those choices are difficult or unpopular. Offering endless second chances to those who have proven themselves untrustworthy is not conducive to eudaimonia. By choosing to distance ourselves from such individuals, we create space for more positive and fulfilling relationships to enter our lives. Often, the decision to withhold a second chance is about breaking free from a cycle of negativity. When we repeatedly forgive someone who continues to hurt or disappoint us, we become complicit in our own suffering. We teach them that our boundaries are meaningless, that our feelings are irrelevant, and that they can continue to mistreat us without consequence. This creates a toxic dynamic that can be incredibly damaging to our self-esteem and our overall well-being. It is essential to recognize that we have the power to break free from these cycles. Choosing to walk away from a toxic relationship can be incredibly empowering. The Stoics believed that true freedom lay not in the absence of external constraints, but in our ability to choose our responses to those constraints. We may not be able to control the actions of others, but we can control how we react to those actions. We can choose to dwell in anger and resentment, or we can choose to forgive, let go, and move on. Similarly, we can choose to remain trapped in a cycle of negativity, or we can choose to break free and create a more positive and fulfilling life for ourselves. The decision to withhold a second chance is a testament to the power of choice. It is a conscious decision to prioritize our own well-being, to protect our peace of mind, and to refuse to be defined by the actions of others. The Stoic perspective on second chances is not about rigidity or a lack of compassion. It is about wisdom, discernment, and the pursuit of a life that is both virtuous and fulfilling. It is about recognizing that our time and energy are precious resources, not to be squandered on those who have repeatedly proven themselves unworthy of our trust. By embracing these principles, we create the foundation for a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling, a life characterized by peace, purpose, and the pursuit of excellence. We free ourselves from the shackles of resentment, anger, and self-doubt, and we open ourselves up to the possibility of experiencing true joy, contentment, and connection with others who share our values and aspirations. The path to a virtuous life is not always easy, but it is a journey worth taking,